when a young Antonio Banks is what I was known as back then. Um, a friend of mine was friends with somebody who knew Macho Man. They lived in like the Sarasota, Fort Myers area, and they said, "Hey, give me a VHS tape of one of your matches and an 8x10, and I'll give it to him. Maybe something can happen." I'm like, at the time he wasn't working anywhere. He wasn't. I'm like was he gonna give you a job somewhere? That's not really how it works. But yeah, okay, you never know. So I gave it to him, and then I used to drive from Miami to Tampa to go train at Steve Keirn's school. And back then it was called Steve Keirn School of Hard Knocks. It was before his affiliation with Florida Championship Wrestling, before he got back with WWE and everything. And because I used to wrestle for IPW, which was an independent wrestling company in Tampa, Florida. So some of the guys there I got to be cool with were like, hey man, you should come train with us at Steve Keirn School. And you had a lot of WW back then F guys that lived in the Tampa area and would go to current school on their days off to get a workout in, to train, sharpen up. So I thought, oh, that's a great opportunity to potentially learn from, some guys that are doing things. So I used to drive up there, and Steve Keirn, to this day, we're still good friends. And when he found out that I was driving from Miami to Tampa and sleeping on somebody's couch to train at his school, he was like, if you got that kind of drive, you don't have to pay a dime to train at my school.
How long is that drive?
From Miami from where I lived to Steve Keirn's school was a little over 4 hours.
Damn. Okay.
And I'd spend the night, crash on somebody's couch, and I'd try to spend like 2 days to get a couple days, and then I'd drive back. And around that time, Macho Man had linked up with Steve Keirn because he was supposed to do this thing, machoman.com. And it was going to be internet wrestling. And, remember, the internet is relatively new, and, being able to, like, streaming wasn't a thing yet. But to go and have a subscription to machoman.com, and they had some plans for that. They were supposed to have, like, strippers, and it was going to be like, because remember, around this time also ECW was huge as well. So it was a little bit more adult,
What year are we talking here?
2001, 2002, maybe, somewhere around there. MachoMan.com, Feel the Madness. Oh, yeah. That was his. And so I got invited to come to try out to be a part of MachoMan.com. And I'll never forget, we had to do promos. And Macho Man invested some money because Steve Keirn's school was a regular wrestling school in a bay of mechanic shops, But it put some money in it and kind of turned it into like a studio wrestling type thing. And we all had to cut promos for Macho Man. And he was there in attendance. And, some dudes were nervous. Some dudes were shitting bricks, as they say.
Yeah, for sure.
I was salivating at the opportunity. Because you guys don't understand, Macho Man is one of my all-time favorite promos because he was so over the top, but original. Like, there was nobody like him before or since. Like, he'd be, Gene Okerlund's here and he's talking, and he'd be turn his back to the camera and not looking, and then he turn back around. Yeah,
Gene followed with that.
Yeah. Say it, say it twice. Macho Man was on his own thing. And if you're not following me, I implore you, go to YouTube and go down the Macho Man promo rabbit hole. Like, I just don't think that he's brought up enough in the conversation.
We were
all-time great promo.
We were at least a half hour of just.
Yeah, we're sitting here just watching Macho Man promos. And I don't remember everything I said in the promo. I just remember that I went in on Macho Man. I went straight for him.
You remember a little bit?
I remember saying something like, because in a promo, if you say somebody's trash, they're garbage, they're nobody, and you beat them, then who did you beat? But if you put somebody over, and they beat you, well, hey, man, so you got to build them up before you tear them down. That's promo 101. You know, Dwayne Swayze, man, you're a big man. You're 6'6". I know you're fit. You're one of the greatest box jumpers in the world. I know your clean and snatch is impressive.
There we
Your
go.
cardio's impressive. But this ain't fitness, man. This is pro wrestling, you know, and you know, then you start tearing you down. So with Macho Man, I was like, yo, Macho Man, you were the epitome of pro wrestling. You were the absolute greatest. You were a champion's champion. Nobody had your style, your charisma. Nobody. You were the greatest. Emphasis on were. What are you now? What are you doing now, Macho Man? What do you have now? A tube of Bengay? A prescription for Viagra? And I could see him standing there with Steve Keirn smiling, like shaking his head, like he was in it. I'm like, I'm gonna roll these dice, man. I'm gonna see what happens. You know, he's either gonna go fuck this kid, get him out of here, or yeah, I like this kid. You know,